There were others found crushed inside their cars by the Russian army.
He was a resident. He worked in landscaping. A peaceful, honest person. A smart man who loved to work. And this simply crushed him to death.
Russia has denied the killings, but Bucha bears the brutal marks of Russia's brutality. The United Nations has launched an independent probe into the massacre in Bucha. The West says the horrors committed in the city could lead to more sanctions against Russia. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the Russians have disengaged and pulled out of Bucha, and you've seen what happened there. There have been many attacks in Kyiv, the capital as well, but things are slowly returning to normal in Ukraine's capital despite heavy attacks in the center of that city as well over the last few weeks. Things are a lot quieter now, but that could change. Take a look at this report where Vitaly Klitschko, former heavyweight boxer and the current mayor of Kyiv, has been traveling the city to show you how it prepares.
Most bodies have been removed and the ones that are left have yet to be picked up. Each has to be photographed and documented. The dead are silent witnesses to what happened here. And what is alleged to have happened is Russian soldiers attacking civilians fleeing the city. The mayor of Kyiv visited Bucha to show solidarity and express anger.
It's genocide of Ukrainian population. More than sure, is that people in Russia and the Russian government have to pay for that painful price.
Officials are gathering evidence and will submit their findings that may well form the basis of a war crimes investigation.
I am a witness because I was here. Today we finally have opportunity to register what happened here. All this will become evidence in our case.
In the outskirts of Bucha, Russian forces shelled houses. The residents say they were effectively held hostage.
The Russians broke into our houses and took them over. They told us not to go out at night.
On the main road leading into Bucha, this Russian convoy of heavily armoured vehicles lies completely destroyed. It stands testament to the ferocity of the fight. The town was retaken by Ukrainian forces on the 31st of March. It's only now that what happened here can be documented. So far, the municipality has found 300 bodies, but as they search the town, that figure could rise much higher. I've counted at least 10 dead bodies down this road. They're waiting to be picked up. They'll be taken to the morgue where they'll be recorded and eventually even picked up perhaps by their loved ones. Although the bodies will be removed from this road, the scars that this town is feeling will take a lot longer to heal. As will the cleanup. Grigory tries to sweep away some of their debris, but it's almost futile. He tries anyway, but the scale of destruction is simply too much.
One of the first places near the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv that was taken over by Russian forces and airborne troops was the Antonov Hostomel Airport, just north of Kyiv. It's home to the world's biggest ever aircraft built and flown, the AN-225 Mriya. Well, sadly, that aircraft is no longer in existence. It's been smashed into a mangled heap of metal, but the Ukrainians have retaken that site. Take a look at this report.
The Hostomel Airport, which housed the world's largest cargo plane, Mriya, destroyed and unrecognizable now. "40 days into the war, this airport lies abandoned and wrecked after a targeted attack by Russia. Ukrainian forces have now regained control of Hostomel, but there's nothing left of this airport or of the beloved Mriya. Once a site of great pride of Ukraine and the world, Mriya, which means dream in Ukrainian, has been wiped out. Now there's just debris, bits and pieces left behind after the Russian airstrike. Russian forces had set their eyes on the Hostomel airport almost immediately after the invasion began. The reason? The strategic location of this airport, located less than 10 kilometers outside of the capital, Kyiv. Merely 2-3 days into the war, Russian military Mi-8 utility helicopters were captured in an airborne assault on the Hostomel air base north of Kyiv. It was the first of many mammoth strikes on this airport, and very soon it was up in flames, and Maria the dream was shattered. Once a pride of Ukraine has now been reduced to a burnt-out mass of debris, and the world's largest aircraft now lies destroyed in its hangar, never to take to the skies again. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, we've shown you what's happening in the Ukrainian-held places outside Kyiv and in the Ukrainian capital. But what about Donbas, that eastern part of Ukraine, the rebel-held territories where the Russians are in control? Remember, India Today is the only network that's showing you both sides of this war. And Geeta Mohan is in Donetsk, in the rebel-held areas, to show you what's happening over there. This is her exclusive report.
I'm here on a field artillery ammunition support vehicle, and Officer Alexei is my right to the front line. We are going there in just a bit from now to see what the situation is. This is beyond Gorlovka. They've taken the space, this entire place, which was Ukrainian territory, and now we'll see how fierce the fighting is at the border, the new front line between Ukraine and Donbas. With video journalist Satya Rautre, Geeta Mohan for India Today. We are here in Vekhnitaraskaya. This is the front line. You can hear not so far away from here, action is ongoing. A fierce fight and assault, not just from the Russian side, but also a response from the Ukrainian side as well. But you can see over here the vehicles, armored vehicles, the artillery carriers, some of them destroyed, because look at the house, look at the houses, and the school over there completely destroyed. That school over there is absolutely destroyed. So that's the situation on the ground. But the Russian forces have taken control of this place, and the assault, the firing, shelling, bombing continues at the border, the new front line. With video journalist Satya Rautre, Geeta Mohan for India Today. This is in memory of the mass graves of soldiers, Soviet soldiers who laid down their lives in World War II. Today, the structure is absolutely destroyed because of the shelling and the bombing that took place over here in Vekhnitaraskaya village. And the officers over here are showing us around, saying that how it is this very land that fought against the Nazis, that fought the Germans, and it was Soviet Union that played a huge role. These are the soldiers who were honored here in this very village, which is just ahead of Gorlovka, but today completely destroyed, because this is the new front line. With video journalist Satya Rautre, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
And coming up next, the Grammys have actually dared to leave out Lata Mangeshkar in their list of those who passed away from the music world. Can you believe such an unbelievable omission? That's the Grammys for you. We'll tell you about that next.
Russia, which has launched military action against Ukraine, has father of all bombs in its weaponry. Yes, you heard that right. Father of all bombs is the world's most powerful non-nuclear bomb. Here's all that you need to know about FOAB. What is father of all bombs? The bomb that Russia has is a thermobaric bomb. It comes by many names: an arsenal bomb, a vacuum bomb, a fuel-air explosive. It is a super powerful non-nuclear bomb that has a blast equivalent to more than 44 tons of TNT. Father of all bombs can cause damage in a radius of 300 meters. The destructive weapon is dropped from a jet and detonates mid-air. It pulls oxygen out of the air and produces a similar effect to a small nuclear weapon. Fuel-air bombs are more complicated than they may sound. They carry a different fuel which quickly turns into an arsenal that seeps into buildings and low places such as cellars, bunkers and caves. Afterwards, a large explosive goes off shortly which carries metal grains. But it's not the weapon's most devastating effect. It's the supersonic shock wave that's the deadliest, which results in a vacuum. Simply put, the so-called vacuum bomb is capable of vaporizing human bodies, crushing internal organs, and reducing cities to rubble. Nothing can protect from it. Not a tank, not body armor. The destruction is definite. Who developed these bombs? Both the United States and the Soviet Union developed thermobaric weapons in 1960s. In September 2007, the largest thermobaric weapon ever made was detonated by Russia and created an explosion equivalent to 40 tons. Russia's father of all bombs is said to be 4 times more powerful than the United States' mother of all bombs. The US version was first tested in 2003 in Florida, and it reportedly costs over $16 million each. In 2017, the US dropped one which weighed 21,600 pounds on the Taliban in Afghanistan. It left a crater more than 300 meters wide after it exploded 6 feet above the ground. China has also developed a bomb to counter America's mother of all bombs. In 2019, China tested the Xi'an H-6K. According to the Chinese government, Xi'an H-6K can destroy any building or military establishment. Use of father of all bombs on Ukraine. The FOAB is Kremlin's weapon of choice. The bomb was allegedly used in Syria in 2016, and it can now be used to demolish the Ukrainian defense establishment and, more importantly, break the morale of the country's military and its people. Reports have it that Putin has ordered its use as part of his shock and awe campaign.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. After dissolving the assembly and calling for fresh elections, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan now threatens street protests against any attempt at his ouster. Is Imran pushing Pakistan deeper and deeper into a constitutional crisis? That's going to be a big talking point on the news today. Also, economic chaos in Sri Lanka. Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will be among our newsmakers tonight. All that and much more on the news today. News without the noise.
The Grammy Awards just came and went, and can you believe it? In that lovely section where they pay tribute and honor greats from the music world who've passed away in the year gone by, they made one incredibly glaring omission. Lata Mangeshkar. Can you believe it? They actually left her out of their tributes at the Grammy Awards. There's no official reaction from India, but Indians are enraged and in disbelief. Take a look.
Indian fans were utterly disappointed when they found out that legendary singer Lata Mangeshkar's name was missing from the Grammys 2022 in memoriam section. a segment that pays tribute to artists who passed away the same year. The In Memoriam segment of the 64th Annual Grammy Awards paid tribute to several late musical powerhouses, including theatre legend Stephen Sondheim, Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, actor Betty Davis, and designer Virgil Abloh. However, late Nightingale Lata Mangeshkar's name, which was mentioned in a comprehensive list featured on the Grammys website, was nowhere to be seen in the honourable segment during the telecast. That's not all. Mangeshkar was not included in the Oscars 2022 In Memoriam segment, which aired on 28th March. So not one but two of the biggest award nights skip Lata Didi's name from the segment. This after the British Academy Film and Television Awards featured her in their In Memoriam segment. The Nightingale of India, who voiced thousands of songs in nearly 30 languages, died in February after battling COVID-19 complications. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Well, that's it on News Track. But India's imploding neighborhood from Pakistan to Sri Lanka is Rajdeep's big focus on News Today right after these messages. Stay with India Today. Let's list you through the large number of Russian items in service with the Indian Army. Starting with the Smerch multi-rocket system, then you've got the Grad multi-rocket system, many regiments populated with these Russian multi-barrel rocket launchers. Then you've got the M46 artillery guns. You've got the old T-55 tanks which are used in the stationary pillbox configuration, especially on the line of control. The mainstay of the Indian Army, as far as its armour is concerned, are the Russian origin T-90 tanks, which are built just outside Chennai. The old T-72 tanks are also of Russian origin. They are also a mainstay of the Indian Army. The BMP-2, which is an infantry vehicle, has been supplied by Russia for many years. It's built locally here in India also for many years and has been adapted for many different kinds of functions. So that chassis also of Russian origin. The Indian Army also uses the Russian Konkurs anti-tank guided missile as well as the Kornet, which is also an anti-tank guided missile. Those are locally manufactured under license here in India, but the technology is Russian. Then you've got the OSA surface-to-air missile system, which is in service with the Indian Army. The Pechora surface-to-air missile system is in service with both the Indian Army as well as the Indian Air Force. The Strela is a surface-to-air missile system, also of Russian origin, in service with India. The Shilka is an anti-air gun, which is in service with the Indian Army. The Tunguska anti-air system, multi-anti-air system, is also in service with the Indian Army. Many infantry units of the Indian Army have Dragunov SVD rifles and sniper rifles, which are one of the most common weapons here. The Kalashnikov, how can anyone forget the Kalashnikov, the AK-47s and the AK series of rifles, which are of Russian origin, even though India has never procured them directly from Russia. India is about to manufacture them, in fact, outside Amethi for the first time, actually getting those weapons directly from Russia. Then there is the OSV-96 anti-material rifles, which are also of Soviet origin. And then there is the NSV machine gun, also a Soviet machine gun, which is used by the Indian Army. And of course, the BrahMos cruise missile, the land version of which is in service with the Indian Army. So that is a huge list. We may have missed some smaller items out, but this is a comprehensive list just to paint you a picture of how crucial Russia is to India's military arsenal and military weaponry hardware situation. So if there are any hiccups when it comes to the supply or the maintenance or the spares, it could affect preparedness for us here in India. And that's the reason why the Modi government has just held a high-level meeting to assess risk as far as India's arsenal is concerned. The big takeaway, we are hugely dependent on outsiders for our warfighting needs here in India. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today. You are watching India Today.
A huge disastrous scene over here. This is a city absolutely dead.
The Ukrainian military truck that was destroyed by our artillery.
Windows broken, shards of glass everywhere. These are unreal times for people of Golgotha. You're seeing new bricks because they're rebuilding. That's how resilient this town has been of Golgotha. I'm atop a T-64 Russian tank, and they are now preparing to roll in to the border areas, the front line.
I think he is a war criminal.
Putin has been called by many names, and now Moscow's undisputed leader has the world's attention. Some even have taken interest in Putin's childhood to understand his present actions. While his past will not justify his present, it's worth having a look into and understanding who Putin really is. Born in 1952 in Leningrad, which is now called St. Petersburg, his childhood was rife with hardship. His city then was under a long Nazi siege during World War II that killed most of the population. The siege has been termed genocide and is described as the world's most destructive siege of a city. His father had taken part in World War II and was wounded badly. Putin's mother, on the other hand, did odd jobs and had almost died of starvation during the Nazi siege of Leningrad. Putin's family had a room in a rundown apartment shared with two other families, so there was always scarcity of hot water, food, and little or no heat in their room. While his parents worked, he would be left with another family or on his own. He was left to look out for himself even when he was bullied in the neighborhood. So his childhood saw food insecurity, bullying, shelter issue, wartime, and even parental trauma. But he luckily found mentors, learned judo, and got a law degree. And that would lead up to his first job in the Russian government when he joined Soviet Union's main security agency, KGB, before entering the Kremlin. Experts say that Putin's childhood dictated his personality. Moreover, he was culturally and psychologically married to the idea of Soviet Union, which stopped existing. One US secretary once said that when she met Putin, she found him to be unemotional and cold. And if you look back at figures like Nazi Germany's Adolf Hitler and Soviet Union's Joseph Stalin, they all had childhood trauma that is often linked back to their actions by historians. Now, let me draw your focus to his announcement that he made before invading Ukraine. Let's have a look at these two words, denazify and demilitarize, because these two words have been used by him to somewhat explain to the world why he is invading Ukraine. And now link that to his childhood trauma of living under military hell, bullying, and war trauma. In his mind, he is the victim here, and he is defending himself as he is threatened by Ukraine.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India.
Tonight at 9 p.m. on the news today with me, Rajdeep Sardesai. After dissolving the assembly and calling for fresh elections, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan now threatens street protests against any attempt at his ouster. Is Imran pushing Pakistan deeper and deeper into a constitutional crisis? That's going to be a big talking point on the news today. Also, economic chaos in Sri Lanka. Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will be among our newsmakers tonight. All that and much more on the news today. News without the noise.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Pancharghat Tire. Ab hawa nahi niklegi. Co-presented by Fujitsu General, the extreme machine. Powered by Greenply, India's first zero-emission plywood. In association with Kia Carens, it's from a different world.
Hello and welcome to the news today. Start of a brand new week, Monday night. This is your destination for news, newsmakers, talking points, news without the noise. Tonight, Imran Khan seems to be pushing Pakistan deeper into chaos. We'll be joined by his key minister and PTI leader Fawad Chaudhry live from Islamabad shortly. Also on the Sri Lankan crisis, we'll be speaking to the former Sri Lankan Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. We bring you the newsmakers without the noise. Let's get you the 9 headlines though first at 9. Bloodbath on the streets of Kiev suburbs, haunting images of bodies piled up on the road, hundreds buried in mass graves in Bucha emerge. US President Joe Biden calls for war crimes trial over the Bucha killings. Embattled Imran Khan nominates former Chief Justice of Pakistan Gulzar Ahmad as caretaker Prime Minister, plans to hold massive protests against the opposition whom he terms as traitors. Terrorists attack Kashmiri Pandit in J&K Shopian district. Shop owner critically injured, shifted to hospital. 7 others are injured in multiple attacks on security forces and locals in the last 24 hours. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath meets police injured in the Gorakhnath Mutt attack. Sickle-wielding assailant sent to 14-day judicial custody. UP police say terror conspiracy can't be ruled out. Rajasthan's Karoli remains tense. Curfew imposed. Internet snapped after communal clashes in the district. 12 arrested. SIT formed to probe violence. It's the biggest merger in the history of corporate India. HDFC and HDFC Bank merged. Behemoth deal likely to conclude in the next 14 to 18 months. And Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk buys a 9.2% stake in Twitter. Social media giant stock shoots up by a whopping 26% on the news of the acquisition. And India records less than 1,000 new COVID cases for the first time since April 2020. Only 13 fresh fatalities reported today. And Lata Mangeshkar loses out on the Grammys. They do not even mention the legendary singer. Fans furious over no mention of the legend. But the big story coming in at this moment is from across the border, where Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has decided now to hit the streets, or Prime Minister, still caretaker Prime Minister, has decided to hit the streets against what he claims is the opposition's attempt to destabilize his government. Imran has asked his supporters tonight to join in against the opposition, whom he termed as traitors of the country. So the battle in Pakistan is now hitting the streets. People are gathering. Both supporters and critics of Imran Khan are gathering on the streets of Islamabad. So that's the latest that's coming in at the moment. Imran Khan called the opposition leaders traitors, declared that he is holding a protest on the streets. The opposition has hit back on him at Imran Khan and said he has murdered democracy. The Supreme Court of the country has adjourned the hearing now till tomorrow on whether Imran Khan had the powers to dissolve the assembly in the way that he did. In a moment, I'll be joined by the key minister and aide of Imran Khan, Fawad Chaudhry. But first, take a look at our top story.
Imran Khan is practicing his politics the way he played cricket, on the front foot. After dissolving the Pakistan National Assembly and calling for fresh elections, Imran has declared he will lead street protests from Monday night against opposition leaders, calling his rival traitors who are part of a foreign conspiracy. Imran made the protest plan public in an interaction with citizens.
मैंने आज अनाउंस कर रहा हूं कि मैं आज शाम को मैं भी इस प्रोटेस्ट पे शामिल होऊंगा। हम ये रेड जोन के बाहर इस्लामाबाद में आज प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे, पुरअमन प्रोटेस्ट। हमेशा हमारा प्रोटेस्ट पुरअमन होता है, लेकिन इसके खिलाफ करेंगे। ये जो गद्दारी हो रही है मुल्क के खिलाफ, बाहर के एजेंडे के ऊपर हुकूमत को गिराने की कोशिश है।
The opposition, stunned by the turn of events on Sunday, when the Deputy Speaker rejected the no confidence motion without vote, has accused Imran of treason.
इमरान न्याजी की बदनीति, आइन शिकनी और फस्ताई सोच वो गालिब आ गई और डिप्टी स्पीकर को इमरान न्याजी ने अपना आलाकार बनाया। आइन चिकनी की गई, आइन को तोड़ा गया इमरान न्याजी और उसके टोले ने।
हुआ ये है कि इमरान खान सदर पाकिस्तान, डेप्यूटी स्पीकर मिली भगत एक साजिश के तहत पाकिस्तान का आईन तोड़ के इमरान खान का ईगो को संभाला है। क्या इमरान खान का ईगो इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट और इज द Constitution of Pakistan more important?
The united opposition is banking on the Supreme Court, which has taken up their petition against the rejection of no confidence motion. A 5-judge bench has said that the court would look into the legality of the decisions taken by the National Assembly Deputy Speaker. It will resume hearing on Tuesday. If the Supreme Court upholds the dissolution of National Assembly, the government has said the elections will take place within 90 days.
These are the steps we will take.
Meanwhile, Imran has nominated former Chief Justice of Pakistan, Gulzar Ahmad, as caretaker Prime Minister. He will continue as caretaker Prime Minister till President Arif Alvi appoints a new one. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now is the senior minister in the Imran Khan government, Fawad Chaudhry, former Minister for Law and Information and Broadcasting. Appreciate your joining us there, Mr. Chaudhry from Islamabad. The big question is Imran Khan and your party now getting desperate street protests? First you dissolve the assembly when you know you're going to lose the confidence vote. Now your Imran Khan is talking of street protests. Is this the way you want to fight this battle? Is this a sign of desperation?
So primarily what you are saying is that the process of horse trading by, first you make a plan to regime change while sitting outside a country's capital in another country. And then you come up with the billions of rupees and, buy MNAs and you call it a democratic process. It's very, interesting comment by you.
No, my point is, just a minute. You're claiming there is a foreign conspiracy. Can you give exact details? You cannot. The Americans have rejected your claim of a foreign conspiracy. B, the fact is, under the law, once you lose a no confidence motion has to be voted upon. You can't say that we are dissolving the assembly without allowing that vote to take place.
Okay, now you have two questions. The first is your observations that we have no evidence. We have a huge evidence to this fact, and our National Security Committee has also, declared this a blatant interference in Pakistan's internal politics. Likewise, Pakistan's cabinet, likewise, Pakistan's Parliament Security Committee has also seen the evidence and has declared it a blatant intervention in Pakistan's internal politics.
Fawad Chaudhry, by whom? Who has intervened? Who is intervened? Who is that person or country that has intervened in this regime change?
Well, that is not really at this moment in your program. This is not an issue right now. This is something people of Pakistan, our cabinet, national security committee, and now the court will know. And I think I will limit my information to this extent. I would not like to comment that in your program.
Okay.
But as far as the second part is concerned, it's a protest, right of peaceful protest is fundamental to Pakistan's constitution. You see, this is not Modi's India. This is Pakistan, and in Pakistan we do protest against injustices.
No, now you've got me going by saying this is not Modi's India. The fact is, in India, sir, there are checks and balances in our system. No democracy is perfect, but there are checks and balances. No, 1 minute. In Pakistan, please understand. For more than half of the 75 years of Pakistan, you've been ruled by the army. Just a minute, sir. Just a minute now.
Where your Supreme Court is standing today.
No, sir.
How your courts are working.
Sir,
what happened in Kashmir. Let's not get into it.
But
let's focus on.
Yes,
on
I'm focusing on Pakistan. Sir, let's focus on your own country at the moment, where a vote of no confidence has been effectively subverted by dissolving the assembly. Let's be honest, you don't have the numbers. At the end of the day, numbers in parliament count.
Well, I must say that you may not be, in any democracy, when there is a crisis, ultimate arbiter are the people of that country. So we are taking the issue to the people of Pakistan. This is the most democratic thing that can happen in any democracy. If the crisis goes beyond a certain limit, you go to people and ask them to decide where they like to stand. So this is the democratic right of the people, that they will decide the regime change, and no one else, but only the people of the country has the right to do that. And this is exactly what we are doing.
Fawad Chaudhry, there will be those who will say that Imran Khan came to power promising a Naya Pakistan, has let down the people of Pakistan. Your own party is splitting apart. Several of your MLAs seem to have, have switched sides. Do you agree that all the hope of a Naya Pakistan, you're back to an unstable, destabilized Pakistan today?
Not at all. Not at all. Pakistan is a democratic country, and then democracies, whenever there's a crisis, you go back to people, and this is what we have exactly done. And today, Pakistan is far better than what we inherited 3 years back. Pakistan is growing by 5.6%. We have created jobs, 5.5 million jobs in these 3 years. No other party is even close to us in this regard. The way we fought Corona, actually we shamed all the countries, we shamed India, and actually our performance in this region is far superior to any other country as far as pandemic.
Then why is your government, if your government is doing so well, why is your government collapsing? If your government is doing so well, why is it collapsing? The fact is, you've been unable to control inflation. Your foreign policy seems to be in a mess. And the fact is that the opposition now claims that there are serious charges even of corruption against your own government ministers. And therefore, they claim that Imran Khan has lost the moral right to rule Pakistan.
Well, frankly, not even an enemy can accuse us of corruption. This is a very interesting moment where all the people who are actually, are trying to create a movement against the government are facing allegations of corruption. And the Prime Minister and his team is absolutely corruption-free. This is probably the first government in the long history of Pakistan on which there is not a rupee, 1 rupee corruption allegation. So secondly, Pakistan, as far as the foreign policy is concerned, we are very clear. Pakistan has a right of sovereignty as much as any other nation. So what we are demanding here is that Pakistan should be treated as any other sovereign country. We are not against any country, but we would not like other countries, to decide the regime change in Pakistan. This is what happened in Pakistan. And yes, you are right. About 20 of our legislature have shifted the loyalty, but everyone know how they shifted the loyalty. There was literally a market was opened, billions of rupees was spent, and horse trading
Mr. Fawad Chaudhry,
as a tool to buy these political
you're saying there has been horse trading. I want to ask you very simply, where is the army in all of this? The belief is that Imran Khan's government was working, was functioning because the army had given its blessings in 2018. In fact, there were those who even accused the army of rigging the election to support Imran Khan. Would you agree that the army also now is out of this battle? They don't want to even touch Imran Khan now. Is that true or not? What is the role of the army?
No, well, this is a political battle, and army has obviously no role in this. Likewise, we have always contradicted that PTI rise is because of army support. We came through a popular vote. Imran Khan has, you have been to Pakistan, and Imran Khan is very, very popular in Pakistan. I believe he is very popular in India as well. There's no doubt about that as well. But Imran Khan is probably one of the most famous political leaders of this region. So Imran Khan's party is certainly, we believe on the people's power, and we will always rely on people to get back to power.
So you're saying you hope for an early election, and therefore you hope to come back to power. But there are those who are saying that you have plunged Pakistan into a constitutional crisis, which is the last thing that any elected government should do. And now you're being accused of doing a Donald Trump. Imran Khan is being accused of doing a Donald Trump. You're about to lose an election in Parliament, a vote of no confidence in Parliament. What do? You go to street protests. You're calling on people to revolt. Is that what elected government should do?
Well, frankly, I don't know who told you that. There is no such thing that we are asking people to, take streets and take law and order in their hand. This is, as I said, this is a peaceful protest. There's a peaceful, the protest that will happen all over Pakistan. Primarily, it's a part of election campaign. When you do campaign, you call your people out, and this is a kind of the motivation that you create for your political workers. This is what we are trying to do, and elections will held in 90 days, so there is not really any constitutional crisis.
One final question: if the Supreme Court decides, Fawad Chaudhry, tomorrow that what you did with dissolving the assembly was illegal and chooses to go ahead with the vote of no confidence, will you accept the Supreme Court verdict, or will you again go to the street once again?
Every country, every political party is bound by the decision of Supreme Court, and so do we. So we will have no problem if Supreme Court held so. But certainly, we think that the solution of political issues is usually not happens in the courts. It's basically the people, and the political questions are to be decided by elections, and this is what we are trying to achieve.
So you will fight till the last over. This battle is not over.
Well, elections will happen, and only then, the question will settle. There's no two opinions about that.
Okay. Fawad Chaudhry, for joining us and giving us a view straight from the horse's mouth, virtually, as the close aide of Imran Khan. Appreciate your joining me here on India Today.
Pleasure is mine.
Let's raise the big question just now. Has Imran Khan pushed his country into a deep constitutional crisis? Is the Pakistan army really going to remain neutral in this current crisis? Are Imran Khan's claims of a foreign hand a sham? Should India be worried about Pakistan's crisis? I'm joined by two very erudite, credible voices. Sharat Sabharwal, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan, and Etijaz Ehsan, former Pakistan minister with the PPP and also the leading constitutional authority. He's fought cases with Benazir Bhutto against Nawaz Sharif in the past. Appreciate both of you joining us. Etijaz Saab, to you first. Are we seeing a breakdown of law and order, a constitutional crisis in Pakistan, with the Supreme Court now having to rule whether Imran Khan has a legitimate right